It's time again for countdown to launch, and I'm looking forward to finally talk about Starship again. I mean, it almost has been what 4 weeks since we started to do countdown to launch again, and I'm looking forward to do this all again. As you said, it's gonna be a bit of a permanent show at this point, and we will see how this. How this goes in terms of pace and cadence. We've heard that SpaceX want to increase the cadence here even more and more. So at some point, maybe this will become a weekly call. We'll see. Alex, how are you feeling about the pace of Starship?
Well, I was even joking earlier when we were preparing for the live stream that I should put this on my spreadsheet. That we are on one of the shortest turnaround times for Canon to launch. But yeah, it's kind of amazing, right? That we are just 1 week away from Starship's next launch. It's kind of mind blowing that it's just being. I mean, 2 days from now, it's going to be already 1 month from the last launch, and here we are. But we gotta get used to that because in the future, Starship launches are gonna get a lot more often. And speaking of launches that are very often, you can see there a Falcon 9 preparing for launch as well. In the meantime, you can see the other countdown where you have the countdown for Starship Flight 6, but there's another countdown to launch as well at 1:19 minutes for Starlink 669 out of the Cape. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it's gonna be an interesting evening. We just heard that Starlink is about 1.5 hours away with this completely crazy Falcon 9 weekend. By the way, in case you want more NSF streams in your life, apparently this is the day to do it because we are doing everything today. So, and there's also road closure, and there's a ship 31 already leaving the high bay. There it is, there over there. And yeah, it's absolutely gonna be interesting to see what happens over the day. Let's see here what we have in terms of well, we'll just wing it. We'll see what happens over here. The road closure for today goes from 7 to 10, I think, Central Time. So it seems like that they're rolling out the ship first here, which is an interesting move by them. But of course, that doesn't stop them from rolling out the booster a bit later and then stacking them both. And they still have a week. A week to stack both vehicles. That's plenty, right, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, we are 1 week away. They have plenty of time to also do all of the FTS, flight termination system configurations and things like that. So, plenty of time. It seems like they could have, I guess, launched this week even maybe. But they decided on the 18th. They probably have a lot of margin there. We'll see.
Absolutely, and always good to see that countdown clock. Like everybody, we will take, of course, questions today. So make sure to tag at NASASpaceflight in chat when you have any questions about Starship today, and we will do our best to answer all of them. And we'll see what we get to today. Oh, by the way, to quickly address this, right now we would cover the Starlink launch inside of this stream, which is just makes sense from the standpoint that we are live anyway. So I don't talk about everything. Yeah, and we will check in with the Cape team from time to time and make sure that we get updates on them when Falcon 9 is entering fueling. So yeah, let's see what we got here. I let's Alex, I will throw this first one. I actually am not sure which one of you right now is on comms, so I have to see if Alex is there.
I'm here
Alex,
so far.
what's the status of ship 31?
Well, as you can see there, it seems like it's ready to go. It's being rolled out of the high bay, and it should be rolling out to the launch site. Hopefully later today, we have our rollout closure. I believe it begins at 7 p.m. And so it should be able to, we will be able to see that rollout hopefully in just a few hours from now. And as you can see, it looks a lot different than the last time we saw it outside of the high bay. They remove a lot of the tiles on the side of the vehicle, and well, they also added a couple of more tiles. Well, a couple, another set of tiles on the leeward side of one of the aft flaps. That sort of brings me back to the old hop days as well. But yeah, so far so good. It has its engines. It's completed its test campaign and everything, so it should be ready to go.
Absolutely. And yeah, you can see it already there peeking out of the high bay. Don't wonder yet, because the road closure is not scheduled for 3 more hours. And sometimes they roll out a bit early. They check and they make sure that that everything is good to go before they roll out, and then they just wait for the sheriff to arrive. And once the sheriff arrives, then they escort the ship quickly down. And we should also mention the fact that apparently on each side of the ship, they removed some DPS. 8 rows, I think, is the about average of what they removed. And yeah, that's that apparently is to give this a very to demonstrate catch abilities with this, because of course down the line they want to catch that ship, and for that there cannot be tiles in the way, because if there's tiles in the way where you want to attach the chopstick bumpers, you're gonna wreck off the all of your tiles. So that wouldn't be great. Let's see here. What else do we have in terms of questions? Less tiles, more better. Yeah, you could say that. Let's. Yeah, the pace. Honestly, Chad. I'm not sure if what you think about the pace, but did you, if you had to be honest, be honest with me, Chad. If somebody would have asked you a few, right after Flight 5, and would have told you, yeah, they're gonna launch again mid-November, would you have said, yes, I believe that? Or is this like this flight came out of nowhere? Of course, we are troubleshooting behind the scenes here, so I'm just gonna address chat here directly, and we're doing this a bit of a live communication style here, everybody. So yeah, it's would you have guessed that, or would you have been completely surprised by that? See, I was quite optimistic after Flight 5. I mean, I was ecstatic, as everybody, right? We saw all the patches and everything, the patches, the catches and everything, and we were like ecstatic, right? And I was like, oh, they might launch again before the end of this year. But mid-November, I would have not guessed. I would be like, yeah, maybe December. But yeah. So I'm seeing I'm not alone here. I'm seeing I'm not alone.
It's a 5x5 in chat for me. Let's see if my microphone's working, because that's painful when Adrian's left on his own, when two people haven't got good communications. I'm thinking, poor Adrian, I've got to join in. Let's see what chat says first, because it's either the microphones or it's the YouTube.
Yeah,
thing.
I see 5x5's Chris. Hello, Chris.
You see, I never fiddle with my knobs. That's a rude thing to say, but it's true. I've got these dials on my microphone and they're pretty much glued on, so it doesn't happen. Yeah, let's talk about Starship, shall we? Because we're getting a bit sort of like countdown to launch. We're, literally 169 hours away from launch. If you're not excited about that kind of countdown, I don't know what it is. But yeah, we've got Ship 31 outside. Have we talked about the TPS yet? Because I think that is the most visual thing. It looks like Ship 31 has been to the hairdressers for a bit of a trim.
Yeah, it looks incomplete, right? Like, it almost like, oh, they forgot the TPS. No, that's intentional. They actually want to have less TPS there, because that would be how it would be potentially during a catch. So very aggressive move by them. Of course, if they ended up in a situation where the TPS would then fail, right? Like this could prove very wrong, Chris. This could end up in a situation where they're like, "Whoops, we removed too many, and now we had a ship burning up." So this is going to be an interesting one.
You know what? There's one person I'd like to ask this question to, and he's on with me right now. Adrian, what happens if they lose Ship 31? What do the FAA do? Do they go, "Oh, that's okay, no problem. We're not going to have to do a massive investigation"?
Yep, actually, they have some. So if this is still the case, we have not have like full confirmation, but this is very much the expectation. That ship, there are certain exemptions from a mishap investigation that are in place, and one of them is regarding the re-entry of the ship. So we expect that the burn up wouldn't trigger a mishap investigation based on the FAA communication before Flight 4. Actually, that has been in place since Flight 4. So yes, that wouldn't trigger a mishap. It's just them experimenting with the boundaries of this flight program, which I guess is good, right? You want to establish early how much tiles you really need. And to be fair, these tiles they removed, that's probably half a ton.
I'll tell you one thing they'd never done during the space shuttle program is play around with the TPS. I mean, that's the thing you've got with Starship. It's uncrewed. You can lose vehicles. The shuttle program started literally with STS-1 as a crewed flight. You don't start taking tiles off on STS-2 and STS-3 and see, well, maybe it'd be okay. You can do that with Starship. I've got a funny feeling, though, that they've got enough data now from the first 5 flights, and they've said, you know what? We might not need all this TPS. Let's try it on the next flight to remove some of it, because we've got our improvements we've learned from the previous flights, and let's see what happens when it goes through re-entry. It's an amazing flex. If you think about it, they can experiment like this with a vehicle that's not cheap. These aren't cheap vehicles. You know, they're going to expend literally the ship until they start catching it, like the boosters do. So it's really a test program where they're looking to the future already. And if they can get this vehicle back intact without any detrimental effects from the TPS being missing in areas that they know they can then attach catch hardware to for when they start catching the ships, it's going to be a really important flight to look back on. Flight 6, it was when they realised they could get less TPS on the ship, they could put catch hardware on it, and that's when they started recovering the ship.
Yeah, it's the beauty of uncrewed test flights.
What is going on with that camera?
that camera is going everywhere. But look at that. It's already out there. It's getting ready. And they seem to be looking at, that's I think one of the flaps, right? They're working on one of the flaps, maybe looking at the securing of the flaps, because these flaps are usually secured during a transport, so they're not moving around.
Well, I'd love the idea of it flapping its way down Highway 4, looking like it's really excited. But that's just me. I tend to...
but these are like 10-meter tall flaps, so I'm not sure if SpaceX would be, from a safety standpoint, happy about this.
Think of the time-lapse. Elisar's time-lapse of the rollout with the flaps flapping everywhere. Be hilarious. Come on,
that would be amazing.
Oh, hello. What's going on here? I hear a Gene.
We're back.
By the way, everyone, these are countdown to launches. They're our live shows. We actually use them as tech checks to test things out. So when we have a few technical problems, it's good because we'd rather have it today than during the launch stream. So just like the space programs do, they test things out on the ground so they don't have a failure in the air. So it's our internet version of that. So that's why we were playing around with some settings here. So apologies for the start, but looks like via the magical production staff we have in the back rooms, we now have at least Gene fixed. So I'm going to say thanks for having me for a bit while I was doing some colour commentary, while I was doing some fixes, and over to Gene.
The great Chris Bergen there, parachuting in to save my first live stream. And Adrian, of course, the consummate professional. Great conversation going on there. And again, hats off to the guys in the technical room. They're all running around, getting everything, switching everything, plugging everything in, getting the mice running again, you know, the hamsters, while we continue to work on everything. So we do have, I love the idea of the ship going down the Highway 4, flapping its flaps, waving at everybody on its way to space. I think that would be an amazing thing to see.
I think it would be amazing from a from standpoint of like I would found it funny. However, I also am aware that there are people running around that, and I'm like, do I want to see like 10-meter tall flaps flapping around? And I am not sure if that's that's the call to make. But
I mean, they
yeah,
have it chained down,
absolutely.
really. They have it chained down to the
Yeah,
SPMTs.
that's
It's not going to go anywhere, but I mean, it just stop and do it. Just stop and wave at the cameras and then keep rolling. They don't go fast. That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
so. Yeah, I think we are slowly getting here, and we
Yeah.
kind of wrapped the ship section already. So
And
yeah, there's a ship.
and there's a lot going on tonight. So we do have the rollout, which we thought was later. It's now, yay, and we're watching it live on screen. And again, we don't want to forget our friends in the field at Starlink, which is you're seeing on screen right now. And we've got some amazing folks down at the Space Coast. Do we want to do a check-in now that we've got kind of everybody back? Give them a little time to talk about the weather and what's going on with Starlink 6-69.
I think we are first checking with Alex. If
Oh, is Alex
is now
back?
with us.
Alex, are we 5x5 with you as well?
I should be back. I mean, I tried to get everything solved. I did not change anything, but somehow it got better. So I don't know. Computers are somehow like that. But yeah, one of the things that tends to happen, we see this ship now outside of the high bay, but even though the rollout is a few hours from now, they sometimes put the vehicles outside to prepare them for the rollout. One of the things that we see normally is that they load more of the counterweights and things like that. One thing that I should mention, it's probably going to be mentioned later once we cover the rollout though, is that this is going to be the last time, hopefully, that we're going to see a ship being plugged to a pressurization setup there while rolling out, because version 2 will not have any of that, so that's going to be nice to see.
That's
but yeah,
right.
coming back to Starlink, if we're going to go to that, I don't know what's sort of the, there we go. That's the Falcon 9 with Starlink 669, another 24, not 23, Starlink V2 mini satellites going on board. And that's going to be launching in just 1 hour and 3 minutes, hopefully, if nothing changes. So hopefully we get to see that. But yeah, so far so good. We're going to have a lot of action today because we
What a day.
already had a launch. There's another launch and now a rollout for a launch. We're counting down to launch like 3 times today. It's crazy.
Right there. Two Starlink launches, a countdown to launch, and a rollout in one day. What could get better? I want to take a minute. I want to thank everybody for your support. Guys, we can't do this without you. Thank you so much for our Rat Pack members and some folks who are being really generous. Falcons Maze, thank you so much for your 5 Red Team memberships. Bideford, thank you for your Red Team memberships. And if you get one of those memberships, be sure to thank people and just keep joining our streams. And it's so much fun to see in chat. And again, as they said at the beginning, as Adrian jumped in for me, if you have a question at NASASpaceflight, and I'm slowly going through those, there's a bunch going on there. So, guys, you guys have been so generous. Thank you so much. Jared Walker for 20 Red Team memberships. Again, we can't do this without your support. There's a lot of moving parts in the background that you don't see. The equipment and the folks that just do a whole lot of hard work, and we do it all for you because we're the same as you. We just love this content. We love rockets. We like it when they go up, and we kind of like it when they blow up, but mostly when they go up, right, guys? We like it when they go up and do their missions.
Also when they go sideways.
And when they come down and land, we like it all the way around.
Yeah. I
So-
guess we like rockets, right?
We like rockets. We're just like you guys. I'm trying to look for some good questions here, but let's talk about the booster. I know you guys have talked about the ship. We talked about stripping some tiles off and how that's going to affect things and their steeper angle of ascent coming back for reentry. Let's talk about some of the changes with the booster that they're looking at going into IFT6. Alex, I'll throw this one to you.
Yeah, so in the terms, for the booster, it's largely the same in that, outside, well, you see a few upgrades or differences physically because it was built a little bit later than Booster 12. In fact, it was built I think it was after like the full stack. I think it was right before Flight 2, so about a year ago. It was when it was finally finished. But yeah, so that's Booster 12 there at the Rocket Garden, and so compared to Booster 13 apparently from what the SpaceX said, it has a few upgrades in terms of like structural upgrades. If you remember the chine on Booster 12, it did not. Yeah, that outer cover had some issues there. So of course there are some little upgrades here and there. Most of them are upgrades that we just cannot really see or notice, like actual upgrades, not just some cosmetic changes. Like, and by cosmetic changes, I mean, for example, things like because of how the changes happened. Along Starship's development, the Super Heavy booster has had changes, for example, on its vents. And so things, for example, like the methane tank vents were changed on Booster 9, which flew on Flight 2. And around that time, a lot of the boosters that were in production, they got retrofitted, but they still had the older vents on their methane tanks. So Booster 12 is the last one that has that retrofit, whereas Booster 13 was already made. They scrapped the old top dome section, and they made a brand new one, which had already those integrated vents, but it did not have the old vents. So just an example of what I mean by cosmetic changes, right? That it's a change that was done a long time ago. It's just that now some of the older things are not present there. Another thing, for example, the cowbell vents, as we call them, those have been changed as well. But again, it's mostly little upgrades here and there. And another piece of data that we got from SpaceX is that also the software has been modified a little bit, tweaked based on what they learned with Booster 12's landing. If you heard couple of weeks ago from Elon playing Diablo, that's kind of mind-blowing to say, but yeah, that happened. And so if you listen to that conversation going on, they talked about this myriad of abort criteria that they have for that booster. So the booster is sort of, even after it has already been approved to go to the launch site, there's this whole thing of the booster just checks all of its systems to make sure that everything is good for a catch. If it's not good for a catch, if something trips, then it essentially hits the beach, right? It tries to avoid the launch tower and the launch site in general. And so one of the things that happened was there was at least a few of these criteria that were almost met for just a second, and so they probably have tweaked those as well, because they mentioned as well on their website that they have tweaked the software, some of the abort criteria as well. And obviously the hardware has also been reinforced so that all of those software checks can be balanced. As always, it's sort of like I don't know, like soul and body on a human, but on a rocket, where you need to take care of the software but also the hardware, right, at the same time. And so overall, a lot of these changes obviously we cannot really see in detail because it's all proprietary and everything, but of course that's what SpaceX can tell us. But yeah, that's Booster 13 so far. Of course, we have not been able to show you've seen all of the cycling of cameras and everything. Unfortunately, Booster 13 is still within the Mega Bay. It has not rolled out. It is not at the launch site, as you can see there. There are no vehicles there. There will hopefully later today a ship there on the launch pad, not on the launch mount. We believe it's probably going to be parked somewhere, and then the booster will come maybe a few days from now, hopefully tomorrow, maybe the day after or so. There are a few other rollout closures as well later this week, and then it'll roll, be put on the OLM, then the ship will go on top, and we'll finally back to a full stack.
And we have a lot of questions lining up. We're going to get to your questions in just a second. Some of these booster and ship questions are really amazing. But I do want to go and check in with Max and Dee in the field for Starlink 6-69. Guys, what's the update for that Starlink launch?
Absolutely. So it is pretty gorgeous weather out here in the field. We have blue skies, and the weather here is looking pretty good. There is a 20% probability of violation due to cumulus cloud rules. However, the main concern that SpaceX is going to be looking at today is the booster recovery weather. That's the reason they couldn't launch this mission yesterday, and that's, again, a moderate concern today. So as we get down a bit closer to the Starlink launch, that's the thing that SpaceX is going to be looking at. But here at the launch site, it is absolutely gorgeous. Wouldn't you agree, Max?
Indeed, I would. Weather is looking beautiful, and so is booster B1080 over at Slick 40 right now. Hopefully, about to embark on its only 12th flight, so it's pretty much a youngin' in terms of the entire Falcon 9 fleet. But hopefully, that will be taking place in just about 56 minutes' time. So, quick check-in from the Cape. Everything is looking good.
Thank you, guys. We're going to be checking in with you again to see some frost build up and that all-important 20-minute, 20-second vent, Alex's favorite vent, right? That's the one everybody looks for. That's when they start to chill those lines. Let's get to some of these amazing questions. You know, people that tune into NSF daily, like we do, they see these things over and over. But we get some new folks, and thank you guys for joining NSF for these live streams. So I want to take one of those questions, and one of them came, and it's this one here. What are the chances with Pad B and Tower 2 going up? What are the chances of catching the booster, possibly putting it down, moving it away, and then catching the ship on the same tower?
So, they will down the line do that. The good thing is the ship will go on an orbital trajectory, right? So you will have a bit more time. You're not the booster will come down like roughly in the 6 to 10 minutes area always. There will not be that much change to that because that's just determined by the energy that is put into that booster. The ship, however, on any flight, will go to a orbital trajectory down the line. Will deploy payloads, and then basically it will have to. So if you imagine an orbit, any orbit that has some sort of inclination, it's not always going over Starbase. So you will sometimes even have to wait for it to basically translate back to Starbase again, which might take, I don't know, a day before you even can get to that point again. Of course, that would give them time to put that booster on a transporter, move it away, get the chopsticks ready, and then catch the Starship. So they will not come down in a matter of like an hour, but we are probably more talking about like a day between these.
Yeah, I should also mention, I forgot to say, because, you know, I talked about all of the upgrades and everything. Forgot to say that one piece of data or information that SpaceX mentioned on their website, they talked about they shortened the timeline. So there are hardware upgrades for this flight, add additional redundancy to booster propulsion systems, increase structural strength at key areas, and shorten the timeline to offload propellants from the booster following a successful catch. So if you remember, we saw booster 12 landing on the chopsticks. They caught a booster, by the way. We have that joke running already. But yeah, the booster was then put several hours later. It was put on the OLM, and then they did some offloading there of sorts, and then we got the booster out of the OLM. I think it was 2 days after when they did that, because they were, you know, preparing some of the OLM systems and everything for that. But yeah, they removed the booster 2 days after. If for whatever reason they are able to, you know, quickly do all of these processes much more quickly. Bit of redundancy there on my speech, but it's true that, you know, if they are able to quickly do all of these processes at the end, what they'll be able to is just remove the booster and be able to catch the ship. However, worth noting, there's a second tower. Now, I'm not saying that that tower is just going to be for catches or anything, because I know a lot of people were thinking that for a long time. But once they have the 2 launch pads up and running and they are, you know, active, they could in theory just tag team and catch the booster on one, catch the ship on the other, especially when they're launching payloads, because the ship will need to go back to the production site, get the payloads on, and then roll out to the launch pad again. Whereas the booster, if they actually want it to be fully and rapidly reusable, it might just stay on the OLM, right? Like it'll just be put back on the OLM and
it'll just be probably inspected on site, and up it goes again with another ship, another different vehicle on top, right? And so it's probably going to be beneficial to have those launch towers you can see there. Second towers is still few months away, maybe 6 to 10 months away from being active, if I should say. But that's sort of the timeline that they were talking about the other day, right? I believe Cathay leaders said that they were wanting to maybe catch a ship within 6 months. So maybe, yeah. And especially once they go into orbit, as Adrian was saying, it will take a more than just a couple of orbits to align and everything with the launch site, at least maybe even up to half a day. And once they start doing the long duration missions, staying in orbit for not a few orbits, but just multiple days, they'll have plenty of time to, clear out the launch pad, even if just they have just one tower to bring back with, bring the ship back and land it on the tower. So definitely multiple options there.
Now, of course, in IFT6, IFT5, we saw the amazing booster catch. And we know this flight's going to be very similar. Adrian, take us through the profile of this launch and maybe any changes to IFT5.
Absolutely. It's quite an interesting one. The biggest, I'm not saying the biggest change for sure is the in-space burn for the ship, which will be the biggest change. But even on the booster, and thanks to Alex here, who calculated all that data, the booster has so many smaller adjustments. There's like little timing differences. It seems that, for example, Miko's way is about, correct me if I'm wrong, like 6 seconds earlier, Alex. And then we have the touchdown, which is now planned later. There is a bit of a discussion that Alex and I already had, and I will bring you in here on when Alex and I talk privately. That's the thing we talk about, because there's two ways why the timeline is now different. Either A, they adjusted something, or B, they learned more how it actually is and just made their timeline more accurate. Because we can tell you, the timeline they had on Flight 5 was very much subject to change. It was not at all the timings that actually happened. And I will tell you that a certain Spanish person is of the opinion that there might be also some correction based on real life data.
Yeah. Things like I have the table that you're referencing. Unfortunately, we didn't prepare that for today. I'm sorry. We'll have it maybe for the next Countdown to Launch. I'll try to do that. But yeah, the Miko time, it's only like 1 second earlier. It's the stage separation what happens a little bit earlier as well. But most of these timings just change very little. And sometimes when it's like a few seconds, what I always try to point out is that maybe check what happened on the previous flight. And if you check the previous flight, most of these times happened at that time. Like when I'm mostly sure maybe it is sort of, if you scroll up a bit, maybe it says that there, but usually they say that they are subject to change or something like that, or they are approximate or something like that. They caution that all of these are just notion timelines. Like this is not something that is gonna be a hard truth, because when the vehicle actually flies, it uses all times approximate. There we go. Much more clean than what I said before. When the vehicle actually flies, it uses all of its computing and guidance systems and everything to actually decide when most of these events happen. Like it is not time based, it is just guidance based. And so, for example, that's very helpful if for whatever reason one engine goes out, like on Flight 4, if you remember. And so that allows it to adjust the burn times and being able to adjust its profile to be able to still meet all of its trajectory requirements. Like it needs to put the ship at this velocity, at this altitude, and blah 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 blah, all that stuff. And so the rocket just flies the way that, and so most of these times at the end of the day will change a little bit. Things like, for example, the landing burn, I believe it is 5 seconds later, but it's also 1 second shorter. So that can just be, adjustment based on what they saw with booster 12, how long it was, and how they should expect that to be for booster 13. Because at the end of the day, yeah, it was not that long of a burn, and yeah, I always try to make sense of that way when it's very small adjustments. Unless there's a big change, I don't see that being a huge, indicator of they have upgraded something or anything like it.
I want to thank so many people. Again, we keep saying we can't do this without you, but there are lots of things you can do. Just hit that thumbs up button. It's free, and we appreciate that. You guys being here, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. Yes, chat, I will do an introduction of who I am. We just kind of jumped into it, had some technical issues, and we'll get back to it. But I'll tell you a little bit about who I am in just a minute. But first, I want to thank Jerwa with $106 super chat with a tip. Thank you. Unbelievable. Thank you so much for that. And of course, all the folks out there just, granting and gifting these Red Team memberships. It's such an amazing thing. Sean M., $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Astro95 Media, $10 super chat. Thank you guys so much. Every dollar helps NSF bring you this amazing content from Starship to the Starbase Live, Space Coast Live, everybody in the field. We can't do it without you. And the other way you can support us is by checking out shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Now, Adrian, this is your moment. Check out the sweater this guy's wearing right now. Go to shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Check out all the new merchandise that's there for the holiday season. The time is getting very close to get it by Christmas. Look at that. Look at that. I love that. I got the
honestly, it's so comfy. I'm very sorry. Just to chime in here, I'm very picky about Christmas sweaters because I can tell you I love them. I know they annoy people, and kinda that makes them even more fun. And I'm very picky because sometimes they're not really feeling well or they're not keeping you warm, and I love them. I honestly, they are one of my favorite sweaters, and I could wear them any day. And there they are. We also have a blanket, which is amazing. And you can find them all. We are arriving at the deadline. I think you're about to mention that.
Yeah, it's getting real close. So today would be the day. Get out there and order. And the knit is going to be amazing. I ordered the full stack sweatshirt. I can't wait to get it, wear it to all the Christmas parties that I'm going to, the holiday parties that I'm going to, and just show off my NSF pride walking around in the sweaters. They're amazing. And the company that we're working with is fantastic. So be sure to get out there. And guys, make sure you double check everything when you go to the shop. Make sure your address is correct, because we don't want any hiccups on anybody's end. We want to make sure that the merch gets to you in a timely manner. And again, we thank you so much for that support. I want to jump real quick back to Max and D that are in the field at Starlink 6-69 and get an update from those guys, because we do have some things to talk about. Guys, take it away.
Absolutely. So we are about 43 minutes away from the first opportunity that SpaceX is looking at this window. So there are just a few things coming up. In about 5 minutes or so, the launch director would give the go for fueling if they are targeting that first time. If that's the case, at T-minus 35 minutes from launch, they're going to start loading propellants onto the first stage of Falcon 9. So at that point, we'll be keeping an eye out for frost, and it'll be a race between SpaceX tweeting that they are go for fueling, or us catching signs that they have actually started fueling. A little bit of behind the scenes, Max noticed a little bit ago that the moon is shifting across the sky pretty close to above the launch pad. So he has been hard at work. That's what he's doing right now, trying to figure out the best place to be at the press site to maybe, just maybe, get a transit of Falcon 9 near or in front of the moon. So that's an exciting possibility here as we get closer to liftoff.
That's going to be an amazing shot. Thank you so much for that. Alex, I want to come back to you. We've talked about the ship. We've had some questions about heat tiles and the TPS, and we've talked about the booster and some of the upgrades they're doing. Let's shift over and talk about the OLM. And one of the questions that came up was, is how do you think SpaceX will obtain enough methane and LOX? And the question was there, and it went away, for these massive ships. They want to launch so much cadence. They're picking up the ship cadence as they're building more and more ship and boosters. Are they going to be able to, with the current propellant farm that they have now, keep up with the demand for these ships and boosters?
Well, right now, obviously, they don't have the capacity to be able to keep up with that. But obviously, we'll have to look up, what they do in the future. One of the things, for example, for the liquid oxygen, is they're going to have their own air separation units. What you do is you just distill the air, essentially separating oxygen out of the air. And one of the ways so they have already tried that in the past, but they dismantled that air separation unit they had at Starbase. They no longer do that. But at 39A, for example, they do plan to have one of those, at least from what they have, proposed to the FAA on their environmental assessment. And so they are now already working on those higher launch cadences. Of course, we are very far away from hitting any sort of roadblocks in that sense, but definitely good to start now and not having to wait, because that will be quite a shame, right? To have to later down the line have to hit that block and being like, well, I cannot do anything because I need to up my infrastructure and everything. But no, if they do that now, they'll obviously be ready to be able to up the cadence. As for the methane, I'm not sure how they'll do that. There's been, Elon has talked for a long time of, in the future, we'll have this Sabatier process that will extract the carbon dioxide from the air, and we'll have water, and doing all of that, we can combine that into methane. But so far, they have not done that. They have not tried, at least that we know, publicly, like large scale production of methane. All of the methane that they have used is just essentially trucked in. They have talked about pipelines of methane going to Starbase at the very least, and using naturally sourced methane, not made out of the air or anything. It's just normal methane. Instead of trucking in, you just have a pipeline. That could be a solution, for example, in the future when they have a higher launch cadence out of Starbase and trucking in becomes not useful, at least all the way to the launch site. You can still have like some kind of reservoir outside of the blast danger area where you can essentially just truck in all of that and keep away from all of the launch operations, which is not good to be close to when you're carrying explosives like that. But definitely something that we'll have to look in the future, right? And see what they do. Really excited to see what, like, this is one of those things that it's a really big problem, right, in the future. But just like everything else with Starship, it's kind of unprecedented, right? And so they'll figure it out, they'll work it out, and we'll be following along as always.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. The OLM plays such an amazing role in what we watch at Starbase. It's stage 0, as we call it. We know there's some minor work after Flight 5 and the catch of the booster. Adrian, what are some of the things that we've seen on our streams, actually, that they've done to the OLM in preparation for Flight 6?
Funny thing is, not that much. I think the biggest news is how little they have done. If you have looked at previous flights, we sometimes had major refurbishment, we had repairs all over. Honestly, that kind of was very calm on this flight. We have seen some reinforcement work on the booster quick disconnect, which seems to be always a bit of a in-watch item for them. Of course, that makes sense, right? It's basically right next to 33 Raptor engines igniting. So I guess if there's one part that you extra watch, it's probably that. There has been some minor look at the ship quick disconnect arm. Honestly, not that much on the chopsticks, which is, they just caught a booster and they basically gave it, a bit of attention. The tank farm stayed basically the same. There's no major rework of the tank farm anymore. Remember when we had like the first few flights where basically the countdown completely changed with every single flight because they removed like 5 subcoolers, 2 tanks, and everything, and everything changed. I think we're past that. So you can see the new tank farm from a flyover late October, which is not that much change. The big news is there's no news, and I mean, look at the turnover time for the OLM. They were like, after that flight, how fast Booster 13 was on that pad, how fast they static fired that thing without any major work. Kind of crazy.
So we just talked about the OLM, we talked about the booster, we talked about the tank farm, and we should be really close, just a few minutes away from propellant loading on the Starlink mission down in Florida. How does KSC get its propellant? Do they have a gigantic tank farm like Starbase, Alex?
Yeah, so I actually saw a few people asking like, okay, how did you do it at the Cape? They have a lot of launches, right? Well, I gotta say, just Starship alone has as much liquid oxygen as 10 Falcon 9s. So that's why they are able to, launch so much often, because, all of that tank farm that we see there at Starbase could fully load liquid oxygen for 10 Falcon 9s. So, of course, they are able to launch much more often. But one of the things that they have is a few of the commodities are that they have pipelines for those, especially from Air Liquide, which has its own sort of air separation unit and production site there, especially for nitrogen. But a bunch of other things are tracked in, like liquid oxygen, at least for Slick 40 and I think even 39A, because we see those trucks arriving at the pad on our flyovers. Like every single time we fly on these KC flyovers that we do every now and then, I see on the launch pads the trucks going in and loading RP1 and liquid oxygen, at least for Falcon 9. I'm not sure about other providers. Sometimes these change, this sort of different between different pads, but it's definitely, a combination of pipeline and trucks. And speaking of, propellant load, as you were saying, we should be already into that propellant load if they are indeed going to that 4:28 p.m. Eastern time for the liftoff, because that propellant load on Falcon 9 begins at T-minus 35 minutes. It's an automated process. And so maybe even within a couple of minutes, we should start seeing frost as well on the booster. So just wait a few more minutes and we'll see what happens.
All right, let's get some of these amazing questions out of the way. Are we still looking for a wet dress rehearsal on this flight? Yes or no?
No. They didn't do one on flight 5. They only did like this partial tanking test, and based on we have not seen any road closure schedule. It doesn't seem likely at this point. If it's a test, it's probably going to be a very minor one. I don't think we will see another test. I think we will just see a stack and launch.
I think they've got their systems down to a science now. Alex, how about this one? Are they rolling out the ship first in order to get the FTS put on the ship without having to stack it, then destack it, then restack it?
It could be, we're talking right now about that testing before the launch. They may just go ahead and do the flight termination system installation, right? And all the checks and everything on both vehicles and then stack them and keep it like that for launch. Like at least while on Flight 5, they did not do a wet dress rehearsal. They did a couple of full stack tests on the pad, like partially loading the tanks and things like that, which is sort of like a partial wet dress, but not at all. Like, yeah, it's a bit of a gray area. It's a tanking test, that's for sure. But yeah, the whole deal is that they could just not do any test at all, other than just stack the two vehicles and connect them to the QDs and whatnot, to the umbilicals and everything, and just run with that to launch day.
So I think this one's going to whack the beehive, but do we think Ship 26 is a tanker?
No.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Yeah.
I keep saying paint it white and shoot it to the moon. That just that's what I think. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, Alex and I are very known members of the No Ship 26 club, so
It will
you're-
not launch.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
it
And
will
I'm
not
just,
launch. Did you?
I don't
the
think that
only
one's going
thing,
to launch either. Test vehicle. Test
the,
article.
the only thing you will ever see in the air from Ship 26 is when they take it away part by part, and it's like lifted by a crane.
Ooh,
That's the moment it will lift off.
You're going to get lit up in the chat for that one by some folks, I think. But that's okay. It could happen. I don't know. And just here in a couple minutes, we're going to jump back to the Space Coast. But there are some questions coming through about who I am. My name is Gene Rowley, and I have joined NASA Spaceflight. I'm humbled to be here. I have been, like you, a fan of NASA Spaceflight for years. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, you and I have talked in chat. I've watched every piece of content that NASA Spaceflight puts out, and of course, all of our friends in the spaceflight community. I am an enthusiast about what goes up and what comes down when it comes from Earth, and I am a big proponent of going to Mars. I've been a fan of SpaceX and, of course, all the other launch providers. I watch every launch just like you do, and I'm just humbled to be here to join this amazing team of technical folks in the background and broadcasters, and of course, over on NASASpaceflight.com. All of the great news articles that are coming out. I mean, it's just an amazing organization. I am just glad to be here. My background, I have a degree in applied science. So when I was talking to the folks in the background about joining the team, they grilled me on what I knew about rockets and rocketry and of course, Falcon 9 and Starship. But it's been a fun experience. And I'm going to be hopefully hosting more shows with Adrian and, of course, all the great team, Alex and everybody. I mean, there's so many. When you start listing them, you always mess it up, right? Jay and just everybody.
Never start listening.
Never start listening.
It always goes
rule,
wrong.
Rule number one. So speaking of that, let's jump back over to Florida and see what's going on with Starlink 6-69. The guys are in the field, and we should see some propellant load if fingers are crossed.
Yeah, indeed. So it looks like we do have frost appearing on the first stage booster, which is an indicator that obviously that the launch director gave the go for propellant load at T-minus 38 minutes. And the first stage liquid oxygen and RP1 load occurred at about T-minus 35 minutes that process started. So next, I think in the countdown, we will see the T-minus 20-minute vent, which is where they begin to purge and thermally condition the propellant lines in the transporter erector in preparation for stage 2 liquid oxygen loading, which occurs at T-minus 16 minutes. Following that, at T-minus 7 minutes, Falcon 9 begins its engine chill to thermally condition the turbo pumps, engine bells, all the good stuff of all 9 Merlin 1Ds before liftoff. And then at T-minus 1 minute, the command will be sent from the flight computer to conduct final launch checks and send Falcon 9 into internal power. So we are coming up really close to that. We are now past the T-minus 30-minute mark. And as you can see in my shot now, there is a beautiful heron perched up on one of the plants right next to the rocket in my frame. It's a beautiful, beautiful bird. Two beautiful birds in one frame, I guess one could say. But things are progressing and trending in the right direction here so far.
Excellent news. Guys, we're going to talk about the regulatory steps and we're going to real quick just touch on the regulatory things going on right now for IFT 6 coming up a week from today. We're all excited about it. Alex, Adrian, have there been any regulatory hiccups? Please say no.
No.
No. So just to explain some things here, because I already saw people like, oh, what's with the launch license and everything. That's not a tracking required for this one. The FAA, back when they issued the Flight 5 license, has confirmed that SpaceX already has notified them about the changes that will be done on Flight 6, and they have reviewed that and deemed that no license modification would be needed for Flight 6. There you can see SpaceX for Flight 6 are within the scope of what has been previously analyzed. That means the launch license does cover this launch as well, the launch license that is already in place from Flight 5. From the other regulatory standpoints, we already have a NOTAM, Notice to Airmen, that has been issued in the general area on Monday. And we are just lacking some other minor things. I think still need a NOTMAR, which can be scheduled and I think expected around Wednesday potentially. And then we also have the road closure, which sometimes can pop up as late as like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's no problem. SpaceX has confirmed they go for Monday. So in a very unusual situation, I can't believe I'm saying this, we are not tracking any regulatory things a few days before launch.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. And hopefully that continues through all of the successive days leading up to the launch. And I just want to remind everybody, countdown to launch happens every day, starting today, on the way to the launch of IFT-6. And we're all going to be glued to our screens. You can see it right there, rolling out the ship before the booster. And this is the last Block 1 ship. After this, we go to Block 2s. You can see on the side of the ship where they've stripped a lot of the TPS tiles off, and some people think it's a good idea. Some people think they might have gone a little too deep into the plasma stream, but I guess we'll see next Monday, hopefully, fingers crossed, when they launch. Any final thoughts on the rollout before we jump over to the Starlink 6-69, and we're going to land right on that 20-minute, 20-second vent.
Yeah,
That's my goal.
I was actually going to be, talking about, while there are some changes on the Flight 6 mission compared to Flight 5, if you think about it, the booster flight is pretty much a copy, right? It's still going out over the Gulf of Mexico. The booster then separates, comes back. It is caught on the launch tower, or it aborts to the Gulf of Mexico. Either way, both of them are contemplated on the license. And then the ship, it goes into this sort of suborbital, near orbital trajectory, and then it re-enters of the Indian Ocean. The only difference from Flight 5 is that now in the middle, in that sort of coast phase, it is also doing a relight of one of its Raptor engines, but that relight will still put that ship on that re-entry corridor that they have been approved to land on in the Indian Ocean. So either way, they will not have anything outside of the parameters that they were approved for Flight 5, right? That relight during the coast phase is just going to be a little bit of a change that, again, it does not put the ship outside of the safety corridors, at least so we hope. Let's knock on wood.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for your support. We're going to stay right here. Don't go anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We're going to shift over, and we're going to look at that beautiful shot of that booster. I can't wait to see that again on IFT-6. Guys, NASASpaceflight has the best cameras and the best positions with the best hosts. It's such an amazing shot. What is that? Make that into a steel print, guys. Put that on shop.nasaspaceflight.com. That is amazing. I mean, seriously, the photographers are so talented.
I'm looking forward, by the way, to this time next week. Alex, I think, mentioned it already a bit. Next time, in exactly 1 week from now, we will be already potentially in fueling
5 minutes.
This thing.
Still 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes.
About 5 more minutes, but we are basically just exactly a week away from the next flight of Starship. And with this, I kind of jinxed it.
No. It's not true. It's going to happen. We'll see.
Do you think that bird will fly off when Falcon starts flying?
I mean,
I sure
feel like
hope
at some
not.
point they get used.
It'd
be funny if
we need to name it. We need to name that. Somebody name the bird. Name the bird in chat. Obviously, we're looking at Starlink 6-69. We're going to switch over. Booster 1080 launching for its 12th flight. So in the fleet, this is a mid-range booster now, isn't it? What are you up to? 23?
Yeah, they did today the third flight of a 23rd flight booster. I don't know, like it was the third time a booster was flying for the 23rd time. So today, with 12 flights, I actually, side note, before the 2-20 minute event, in my own spreadsheet, I have some kind of statistical method where I'm like, okay, if you were randomly going to a Falcon 9 launch, what will be the average flight of the booster? And so right now that is at 12 flights. So this is sort of your average Falcon 9 launch, right? Where the average age of that booster will be, it will be around its 12th flight of sorts. We had recently, like I think a third flight, a fifth flight, or something like that. So it was a rare one. When they fly very little or they fly a lot, that's when it's a little bit more rare. But sort of in the middle is 12 flights.
So are they certifying for what, 40 now? Or are they going for 50? Is it 40?
Yeah, they are now trying to get both fairing reuse and booster reuse certified to 40 flights. That's not a certification for like NASA or anything. That's just, their own certification, because they try to follow their own, engineering practices and guidelines and whatnot. So they have these sort of, rules within their own organization, and they're like, okay, we want these things to be certified, be able to fly up to 40 times. And so that's what they're doing right now, doing all of the studies and everything. We should be 20 seconds away from that T-minus 20-minute event.
Yay. Come on. That's the one we all want to see. Guys, thank you so much again for your support. Thank you, Ryan, for the super chat. It's amazing. We can't do what we do without you, and everybody. Just the thumbs up and everybody on the stream right now. Yes, we've kind of joined the streams, as they say, from a countdown to launch. Be sure to check out tomorrow's countdown to launch for more amazing Starship and Starbase. There goes the vent, everybody. So we are on track for Starlink 6-69. And we're looking at a T0 at 16:28 local time there in Florida.
Yep, and there we see the T-minus 20-minute vent, which is ongoing, and that is, of course, the preparation for second stage LOX loading, because they basically purge the lines that will go and conduct that second stage LOX loading, and in preparation for that LOX to enter that, they want to first make sure that these lines are properly purged, and that purge vent is exactly what you see there. So that is the preparation of second stage LOX loading.
And that's what we like to see. That means we should, fingers crossed, no jinxing, right, Adrian? Should see some nice stuff. Now, I want to go to either Max or D, whoever's nearest the microphone. We had a conversation earlier today about the jellyfish. And now that they've pushed, I guess, from 4:02 p.m. local time to almost 4:30, 4:28, what are the odds of us seeing some Falcon 9 jellyfish action tonight on this launch?
Well, it is unfortunately still a bit too early for that jellyfish. If the sun had fully set just below the horizon, then we would have the great chance at a jellyfish, but it should still be shining on the booster at the moment of liftoff. And of course, since they started that fueling at that point, their T0 is locked in. They're not able to push to a later time in the window. So either Falcon 9 is going to launch in about 19 minutes, or I don't want to say the alternative. So hopefully we'll see Falcon 9 launch in 19 minutes and get these 24 Starlink satellites off the ground.
Excellent. And of course, I've named the bird. The bird is Jeff. Jeff has flown away because of the Falcon 9 launch. So we have a nice unobstructed view of Starlink 6-69 booster 1080 launching for its 12th launch today. I by the way, I have to tell everybody, this is my first time hosting, and so I want to thank everybody for your questions. I am doing a terrible job of getting to all your amazing questions. So let's see if I can find some Starlink questions now we've switched over about what's going on the screen right now. So we talked about the fueling. What can we look forward to as far as, and I'm going to pull Alex in on this one. What can we look forward to when we get closer to T0? The call outs that SpaceX does, getting close to that T0 mark.
Yeah. So what they do right now, they are preparing for that liquid oxygen load, which should begin in about a minute from now. And then one of the things that will not see, but should happen during this countdown is around T-minus 6 minutes. That's when they're going to be wrapping up the RP1 load, the kerosene load on the first stage. They have already wrapped that. They have already wrapped that up on the second stage about 3 minutes ago. So now the for the booster, that'll be 10 minutes from now. Also, at T minus 7 minutes, we'll see we'll not see, but should happen, the engine chill ongoing on the Merlin 1D engines on the base of the rocket. Sort of those final steps on the count will be, that wrapping up of the RP1 load on the first stage, the Merlin engine chill, and then also the retraction of the transporter erector as well. Some of the callouts will hear things like, pressing the tanks for Stromback retract. They're going to retract the Stromback. Then we're going to have liquid oxygen load wrapping up on the first stage, then on the second stage. Once that wraps up, that'll be around T minus 2 minute mark. The Falcon 9 will be fully loaded with the propellants, and we'll have, the usual closeouts and everything, and hopefully a launch just a few minutes later. But, crossing our fingers, that happens in 60 minutes. You can see now that T minus 20 minute event has disappeared. That indicates liquid oxygen load is underway on the second stage.
And of course, earlier this afternoon, we saw a RTLS, a return to launch site booster landing. Where is this one landing? Adrian, you want to take this one? How many drone ships does SpaceX have?
I mean, they didn't use a drone ship for the earlier flight because that was indeed a return to launch site, an RTLS landing. But this one will land on a shortfall of Gravitas, which is stationed just there, a bit downrange, and will hopefully recover this booster for a 12th time. And yeah, that's a drone ship landing because, of course, as we talked about, these Starlinks, they are quite demanding for the Falcon 9 in terms of mass, so there is not enough margin available in terms of fuel to return to launch site because the booster is needed to push these Starlinks all the way as much as they can. So yeah, there you go.
In fact, if I may, today's flight is carrying 24 Starlink V2 mini satellites. They usually, to these Group 6 missions, they fly 23. They only flew 24 on just one mission, and adding that extra satellite, it pushes the performance all the way to the limits of Falcon 9. And so today we should not expect something like a stubby nozzle or anything like it. I know a lot of people are usually arguing about that. Hopefully, though, as we can see there, the second stage will have some propellant left after the satellites separate and come back to a re-entry over the Indian Ocean. Not just like Starship, though. It will not be recovered, unfortunately. But, quite coincidental, right? That it's sort of landing in the approximate sort of same location as Starship.
We're launching the from Slick 40 today, and you see the 4 towers. And I love this question from John. He says, Gene, what are the 4 towers? Wrong answers only. Maybe we can go around the panel. Everybody can come up with a wrong answer only, because we are going to tell you what those 4 towers are for here in just a second. Okay, John, here you go. Wrong answers only. Those 4 towers are after the launch. They raise up a giant net, which you can't see, right, because it's blocked by the bushes down there at the bottom. And just in case, they can then just turn the engines off and it'll fall back and catch the booster and the upper stage. Wrong answers only, guys. Adrian, what are the 4 towers for?
Backup rockets in case the first one doesn't go.
Alex.
They are awesomeness tractors. They attract awesomeness.
They send out electromagnetic frequencies that keep the birds away. The engines don't do it by themselves, right, guys? Okay, now,
absolutely.
In all seriousness, now let's talk about what those 4 towers are. And if I'm mistaken, I believe they are lightning.
That's correct. They actually, I think the right wording would be they hold the cables for the lightning protection system.
Yep.
Because I think one of the big misconceptions that some people have is that the lightning would strike the tower. That's actually not the case. There's like a small little metal cage, or like a you can see the bit there at the top, and that's held by these towers, and that's where the lightning would usually connect. The towers are there to hold that cage in place, and there's the shirt for that. We have a shirt for that.
Oh, I need one of those.
I still love that.
That looks good.
The technical term is catenary towers, if I'm not butchering that pronunciation, but yeah. Because they are there just to keep those cables in place, and that's where the lightning actually hits and not the towers. Although, sometimes they do hit the towers, but that's not usually the planned location for the lightning to hit.
As we come up on T-minus 10 minutes, let's talk about the difference between Falcon Heavy and Falcon 9. Earlier today, we were talking about the strong back for Falcon 9 has a shielding around it, and obviously you can't see it in this shot. The strong back is on the other side. And what are the landing profiles different? They want to ask that question. How are they different? We've got 2 return to RTLS, and then what?
Oh, that's so sorry. The question is versus Super Heavy, not Falcon Heavy.
Oh, sorry.
Starship
versus Super Heavy.
I start first, Alex, with the obvious one, and then you can add the gritty details. One of the biggest one is no entry burn. Starship is designed, Super Heavy is designed in mind with not needing any entry burn. So Falcon 9 on these missions needs to slow itself down, right? It's hitting the atmosphere too fast for its limits. So what basically happens is they slow it down using the entry burn. Starship with Super Heavy is a bit different there because it's designed from the get-go to have this in mind, so it can withstand the re-entry heating without needing an entry burn. And that's, I think, the biggest one. I mean, the fact that it's not having landing lags instead of getting caught by power, but that's a pretty obvious one.
Yeah.
But yeah. But like in terms of profile, Alex, is there a big profile difference besides the entry burn?
Well, one of the reasons actually that Super Heavy can avoid having that entry burn is also the fact that it stages a little bit earlier. It's a little bit slower, and also it comes back to the launch site. Today we had an RTLS on Falcon 9, and they only needed a single engine re-entry burn because that was actually a very slow re-entry speed that they had on Falcon 9. They still do an entry burn, but it's shorter, and it's also just one engine compared to, for example, today, hopefully in about 10 minutes from, a little bit less than 10 minutes, not 10 minutes, in 15 minutes from now, once the booster has already separated and it's during its re-entry, it should be going with a 131 entry burn instead of just one single engine burn. But yeah, there's a bunch of differences as well. Even the second stage, as you know, Starship is designed to be fully reusable. So the second stage also enters through the atmosphere and is supposed to be reused and everything. Second stage of Falcon 9 does not survive re-entry, or is not designed to survive re-entry at the very least. So yeah, we saw earlier a shot of LC-39A, by the way. They are already preparing. You can see there the transport director has already come back down. That's the same location where we saw that launch just a few hours ago, that KoreaSat-6A launch. So yeah, already preparing it for the next launch. That should be with the Optus X mission. Hopefully in a few days from now, later this week, maybe early next week. We'll see.
All right. Now we're under 10 minutes on this. Let's go back out to the field. Max and D, we see some frost build up. How's that weather looking?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is looking really good here. Once again, the weather at the launch pad wasn't the primary concern, but as expected, it is beautiful here. There's, I would assume, still keeping an eye on the downrange recovery weather because that was their primary concern. And the moon has been making its way over towards the launch pad's location. So I don't think we're going to be able to get a transit from here, but we are definitely going to try to get an interesting shot involving the moon. That one is actually going to be done by Max, right?
I'm sure going to try. Yeah, I'm going to. So the way I have it booked out or calculated now, it looks like at about 600 millimeters. If I have the rocket all the way to the right-hand side of the frame, the moon should be creeping in on the left side. So not quite a transit, but to have both the moon and Falcon 9 in one shot is always a treat. And hopefully that happens in just over 7 minutes' time.
And one of the questions we had in the chat was, what is the trajectory of today's launch? And of course, that information's in the description down below. And if you want to get super technical, Alex, I'm looking at you. You want to talk about the trajectory? I'm going to throw you at this one.
Yeah, just like the usual Group 6 missions. Now we're coming back to having them more often. They stopped those during the summer, but you can see they are going southeast. Their trajectory goes sort of like northeast of the Bahamas, but southeast out of the Cape. So if you are south of the launch site, and especially in the Bahamas, you should be able to see that. I remember, a while back we even saw. I think we had long out there at the Bahamas, and we saw the re-entry burn. So if you are in the area, definitely try to look out for that. As I always say, if you don't actually see it, it's okay, but at least you tried, right? If you try and then you get to see that, well, that's something to remember, right?
This one's going to 281 by 291 kilometers at a 43-degree orbit. And this booster, 1080, was going to be launching here in about 6.5 minutes, or should be launching in about 6.5 minutes. Flew on the Axiom 2 mission, Axiom 3. This thing flew the Euclid mission, several 6 Starlink missions. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. SCS-24. This thing's got a storied history, as all of the SpaceX boosters do. These Falcon 9 boosters, they launch so frequently, and the cadence is so fast. Man, they just these things rack up a history really, really fast. We're going to bounce out to the field one more time here. We're going to go to Max and D before we send them off. And I wanted to get, do you have any updates? I think you mentioned it just a second ago. But again, beautiful view from the Cape. With the downrange weather where a short fall of gravitas is bobbing in the Atlantic, we said 20% earlier. Do we have any updates on that?
Not as far as we are aware, and the fact that SpaceX decided to push ahead with fueling is an indicator that they are very confident in the fact that they will get the rocket off of the ground today. So, no other updates in terms of weather at the LZ, but again, the fact that they are prop loading is a sign of hopefully good things to come. D, anything else you want to add?
I just wanted to make a quick note that the booster recovery weather is not included in that 20% probability of violation. They only give that low, moderate, or high concern, or they sometimes have a range between there. But so that 20% probability of violation is only local weather, and the local weather is looking good, and we only know moderate for the downrange. So we'll keep an eye on how that all goes, but we are going to head out and hopefully track this rocket.
All right, guys, thank you so much for being out there. Go do your amazing work. If you have not followed them, please do so. They are amazing camera operators. One of the things that we see when we see a Falcon 9 launch after stage separation, when we see that vacuum Merlin engine kick off, is that silver foil. And one of the questions that we had was, what is that, and why is that attached to the engine on all of the Falcon 9 launches?
Yeah,
Alex, I'll go ahead and ask you that one. Yeah,
that is just Mylar protection, especially to keep all of the thermal environments in check, and just protection of the turbo machinery on the engine, so that everything is protected during flight, and again also for the thermal properties of the engine to be well protected. But yeah.
And then, of course, we also see some oxygen bleed off. Then that turns into ice and floats away. We like to call it the Falcon 9 mice when they run along the engines there, the space mice. We have strong. We're about 3 minutes out. We've strong back retract. So we are ready to go here for Starlink 6-69. I want to talk about this shot. Okay, where is this camera right now in relation to Slick 40?
Should be at the press side, right?
Yeah, Adrian,
yes,
do you know where this is? The guys are in the field.
Yeah,
They are going to do the tracking shot, but it's amazing that we're in the field and we've got this, and it's just a gorgeous shot. Beautiful day for launch.
It's from the press side. Sometimes we are lucky with the. It's always a humidity thing. It's always a temperature thing. Sometimes you get lucky with it, and of course wind also doesn't help you if the wind goes higher. And sometimes you just get lucky with the lights and the winds and the humidity, and everything aligns, and then things look great. And we'll we'll start to hear some SpaceX sounds as they perform the final parts of the countdown here.
Yep, we are coming up
Yeah.
on 2 minutes to launch. This will be the 39th launch of a Falcon 9 since their last failure, and the 391st Falcon 9 orbital launch, which is just an incredible feat. When you look at
Alex and I had a
Stage 2
very
lock load
heated
is
discussion
complete.
yesterday if SpaceX will become the Falcon 9 will become the most flown rocket of all time. Where, for the record, Alex says yes, I say no.
We could probably tackle all of that after launch. As you heard,
Yep.
the second stage LOX load is complete, so that means Falcon 9 is fully loaded with propellants ahead of liftoff. You can see that Stromback vent has returned. That is normal. That is clearing out all of those lines ahead of liftoff. We don't want any nasty bits of, potentially explosive materials, right, as the rocket lifts off. So that's very important. And we should be hearing Falcon 9 in startup in just a few seconds from now.
And just going through some of the rundown of this launch, this will be the 85th landing attempt on a shortfall of gravitas. And if so, it will be is it the 12th launch, right? So do we call it the 13th landing? Is that what
The
is it?
12th launch. And
12th launch, 12th landing.
12th landing, but from there on out, the booster will level up then, and you call it the moment it has a dash 13.
Yeah, we are go for launch. We just got the call out there, so we are 45 seconds away from this launch for Starlink 6-69 booster 1080. Falcon 9 is in startup right now, and within the 60-second window. And was that the go for launch from the launch director? Or are we waiting on that?
Yep.
I think it has been given.
Yeah.
So watch for the bottom of the rocket. There we will see deluge and explode and angel igniting, and then hopefully launch.
When we see that, we're going to see that beautiful that rocket launch, and then we are going to be quiet so we can hear it at the same time. Under 10 seconds now. Here we go, folks.
Nope, there it is already. We are already seeing Falcon 9 lift off with Starlink 6-69, and we should get some audio now.
That sound never gets old.
Yep, the deep crackle.
I love it.
It's so amazing.
Great tracking job, by the way. You can see the plume there from those Falcon 9 engines, those Merlin engines. And of course, as it goes up in the atmosphere, we're going to see that expand out as it gets less aerodynamic pressure pushing down on it. Look at that. I call it the Falcon Star. It's gorgeous.
And Max got the moonshot.
Beautiful tracking job, guys. That's amazing.
Congrats, Max, on the moonshot. And we also heard the VAB. It's one of these launches, I think, where we heard the VAB screening a bit in the background because you can hear the sound echoing off that VAB.
So we have a lot of things coming up here in rapid succession. We're going to get main engine cutoff and then stage sep, and then we're going to get the vacuum Raptor ignition. And still a great tracking job. Look at that. That's fantastic. All right, here we go.
Vacuum Merlin, by the way.
What did I say? Raptor? I'm sorry.
Raptor, yeah.
One day,
right,
guys?
Happens all the time.
Yeah,
here it goes.
It's okay.
They're gonna light me up in chat. No, yeah, the Merlin vacuum engine.
You know what? They're also gonna light up that engine.
Yeah, they are.
Go.
All right, there goes main engine cutoff. Stage separation.
Yeah, you can see the booster already. There it
is.
That's from SpaceX feeds.
Never gets old.
That beautiful full-length Merlin vacuum engine.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
sorry.
this was not a stubby nozzle. Thankfully.
Not enough performance.
Now, earlier today, of course, the booster does not on this flight, but the previous one, when it does an RTLS, return to launch site, it does a boost back burn, does a flip maneuver. On this one, it's going to extend those grid fins, as you can see, and it's going to go ahead and just coast its way onto the entry burn. And there go those fairings, exposing those satellites. Bye, fairings. Look at that.
Look at that.
They are.
You can see them from the ground.
Yep. 4
That's-
dots. There's all 4 dots.
Yep. Stage 1, the 2 fairing halves, and stage 2.
Always good to see
That's
all
awesome.
4.
This is from D, apparently. Good work.
Oh, look at that. That's amazing. It's a fully deployed rocket, basically.
Fully deployed burn. You can
Everything-
see the pieces come apart.
Yep.
And
At
those
the-
fairing
at the ma-
halves... Oh,
But
sorry. I was going to say, those fairing halves will now attempt their own entry as well. So the booster is coming back down. The fairings are coming back down. Those are going to be splashing down in the ocean, and they will be recovered by Doug.
I always love to see the video they post later of the fairing entries when you see the plasma, and it's like
Oh,
you're
yeah,
riding along this little space canoe coming through the atmosphere. Booster
like a
1080
giant
is coasting
surf.
on its way to a shortfall of gravitas. You can see the puffs of the reaction control system aligning it where it needs to be. And the grid fins, of course, when it gets into the thicker part of the atmosphere, will start steering it along. But I want to talk about a shortfall of gravitas, and I'm not sure who to ask this to. Adrian, I'll start with you. Maybe you know. There's a UB Gaming asks, has a shortfall of gravitas ever had a landing failure? Any landing failures? Now we know one fell over. What is that? Was that the one they used for the first landings?
now I'm questioning, but a shortfall of gravitas had a landing failure at this point, right?
Yeah.
It was one of the landing failures. Of one failures this year was on the shortfall of gravitas. So yes, it had a failure.
Well, when we say
'cause
landing failure, was it that wasn't the booster that landed and fell over?
Yeah, it was. It was
It
that
was
one.
okay.
B1062.
or where the leg broke, where the
Yeah.
landing leg broke. That one. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it hit a little bit hard, the deck, and then it just fell over. That one was actually the only landing failure on a shortfall of gravitas. It had successfully had a very good run of, consecutive landings on its deck, and, sometimes first times arrive a little bit late, but yeah.
It happens.
Not this one. B1080 is going to have a perfect landing. We're going to see it here in just a second.
So
the new guy,
bingo, right
thank
in
you,
the
Joel.
center.
Yeah, right in the center. Joel, thank you so much. The new guy has a great voice. I like being called the new guy.
It's a cycle.
Yeah. Let's see. Yes, ask at NASASpaceflight, at NSF in chat. You can. We'll get those questions to you. Here you go.
Stage 1 entry burn
Everybody's
startup.
laughing.
Stage
There we
1
go, the
FTS
entry
safe.
burn. There it is.
Wonderful. They can see it changing from 1 to 3 engines, because at the beginning it's like one single circle, and now it's 3 engines because you can see it's forming a line. And it will go back to 1 engine shortly before shutdown. So watch for that. Like we
Stage
are
1
still on
entry
3,
burn
still on
shutdown.
3,
There it
and
is.
then 1, and shutdown.
It's just enough to slow it down while it comes into that atmosphere, so we don't superheat the
Stage 2
engines
FTS
as they
safe.
come in.
Yep. And it's still coming in hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you
that
see-
thing, it's not slow.
The speed is 5,500 kilometers per hour. That's about the same reentry speed as Super Heavy when it reenters. It's a little bit lower, but around the same.
Yeah.
And
think
counterintuitive to what our brains always think is things fall, they accelerate. Well, it depends. If they're made to decelerate, they do decelerate. They get to a terminal velocity, and this is designed exactly that. It comes through, it punches through the atmosphere with that entry burn, which of course helps with the plasma heating. But then once it gets into the thicker parts of the atmosphere, those grid fins are really slow. You can watch that speed just dropping
Stage 1
like a rock
transonic.
as the atmosphere thickens up, and it comes down and does that landing burn right at the last second over the landing spot. Adrian, I think I cut you off there.
No, sorry, I quickly have to mention this because Eric Beavers just announced that they're now 48 months of flight engineer, which is 4
Wow.
years. I sorry, I just saw that and I'm like, wow.
It should be coming up on that landing burn. You can see the
Stage
grid fin.
1
Look at
landing
that.
burn.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
There's the landing burn.
You can see the adjustment last second once the landing burn detects healthy engine.
Yep, because it's aiming for a spot.
Sound.
We
Landing
have
light
sound.
deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
Oh, was that a treat or what? Landing sound on a shortfall of gravitas. You got the venting right there at the end after the landing was confirmed. Amazing.
Finally, the sound is back.
That's good. I like that.
That was nice.
Yeah, that was really
It's
good.
it's a bit of hit and miss sometimes with a shotgun of gravitas.
Vandenberg
Because
shut down.
sometimes we get sound, and sometimes we don't. This one, yeah. There you go. MVAC shutdown, and with that,
Numbers look good.
Nominal orbit insertion.
And they
Nominal
confirm.
orbit insertion. That's what we like to hear.
Alex confirmed it before SpaceX.
Yeah, just look at the numbers, and if they match what they did or are very close to what they did on previous missions, I'm like, yep, it's good.
Yep. Love how Alex is like, numbers are good, and SpaceX like nominal orbit insertion, and like, yep, okay, cool. Alex said it. We have
So, of course-
replays and slow-mos later. Scott.
Yes, we're going to have those replays and the slow-mos later. We are back. It looks like they've rolled it back in the hide bay.
Yeah, they're adjusting it because they have to load the counterweights on the SPMTs and everything for the rollout. That's why they roll it out a little bit early, because they need to do all of these preparations and everything for that rollout. It's not like, they just move it out and get on the road, and they need a bit of preparations for that rollout. But yeah, so a few more hours until that roll actually happens, but they're getting ready for that.
There are so many people that I want to thank for your support during the stream. I mean, it's been a lot of fun, starting with the countdown to launch and then jumping over. I can't see them, though, so I just want to blanket thank everybody for your support of NSF. We couldn't do this without you guys. And, of course, everybody going to shop.nasaspaceflight.com, the store, and getting your Christmas NSF merch. We are going to have the replays and the slow-mos for you here in a little bit. We jumped right back to Starbase. They teased us. But I will say this. Stay on Starbase Live, because later tonight, Jay is going to be up with the full rollout. And don't forget, countdown to launch every single day as we get close to IFT6. If you want to send us questions, you can at NSF in chat, and we'll get them. And let me see if I can find. Go ahead,
I have
Adrian.
some questions here. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually quite a lot of questions here coming in. I will just throw this to Alex because I think it's a fun question too. Why ship rollout before booster?
We don't know. I mean, it's their vehicles, right? So they can roll in whatever order they want. At the end of the day, what needs to go first on the mount is obviously the booster and then the ship, because otherwise it will be a very weird way of stacking the rocket, right? But the order of rollout is, we don't know right now, but it shouldn't matter, in the long term. If you think about that, as long as the booster is mounted first on the OLM, if they want to roll the ship first, sure, do it. It's their vehicles, right? Why not? I guess that's sort of my answer, because they can, but it's just because we really don't know what they're going to be doing. We talked about earlier that they may do flight termination system preps first on the ship, and then roll the booster, do that as well, and then stack. We'll see.
Do you guys think they're being extra cautious after this ship's massive incident with the electrical fire came back, got repaired? You think they're going to take a little extra time when they roll it out to the OLM just to kind of give a quick more once-over, or are they doing that right now?
Well, we don't really know, right? We'll see what they do. It seems like at least that was like a few months ago. I don't even remember when actually it was. Like, I think it was July maybe, or even before that. It was a long time ago. It feels ages ago that happened. So maybe they have already gone through all of that multiple times.
It was on May 12th where they had
May.
the incident.
Yeah.
Didn't we
6 months ago.
Wasn't that like a super big topic in the meetup in Leicester? I think that was like right around that, right?
It might have been, yeah. I don't.
It was May. Hang on, I've got it right here. It was May 12th.
Yeah, it's May 12th.
Yeah.
That's the contrail from the launch that just happened. You can see the moon and everything. Looks like a dragon.
Looks like a dragon. That's oh my gosh, that's incredible. Great picture. Very, very cool. So again, we are going to have some slow-mos, and we're going to have some replays here in a minute. Let me thank some folks for their help here. We couldn't do this without you. Keep hitting that like button. So thank you so much and your support. Thank you for becoming a Red Team member. I'm going to try this one. Sonorous, thank you for your Red Team membership. And all the folks that are gifting the Red Team membership, some new Capcom members, and just some folks saying, hey, guys, we love what you guys do at NSF. We love you for loving what we do at NSF. Thank you guys so much. Again, shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Adrian, show off the sweater one more time. I'm a little jealous that my sweater's not here yet. I was hoping to wear it today, but the next time. Look at that.
The biggest advantage of being the store guy is I get to order before everybody else, so I'm the first in queue.
I ordered, but it's not cold enough yet to wear those. Unfortunately, I live in Spain, but
turn the cool down. Just wear it. Just be hot. Walk around, be hot. You're like, yeah, man.
I feel like warm Christmas sweaters are usually not that much of a thing in Spain, I guess.
We do, but it's incredibly still hot, despite being November.
Who wants to ride a Starship to the moon? Anybody? I'm in. Let's go.
Maybe Jared.
Not me.
Jared.
Yeah, I feel like I leave others to be brave while I sit on Earth commentating about it.
Yeah, I'm okay on Earth as well. I'll cheer everybody that goes to the moon, though. Go.
Max says he's ready to go. We're going. Some of us that are going. I'm in. Let's go. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. That's a beautiful.
I feel like sometimes Alex and I are the only cowards on the NSF team because everybody else is like, yeah, put me in, coach. And Alex and me are like, nope.
Yeah.
Sitting here.
I don't like flying. I don't like, those risky situations. So I'm good on Earth. I'll cheer whoever goes to the moon or wants to go to the moon. I'll cheer them up and everything, but not for me.
I feel like it's the problem of somebody needs to write SBU if everybody else goes to the moon for a week.
Yeah.
It's like who writes SBU on that weekend? Like, who knows?
I'll write it, and then we'll have Jack from the moon saying this week in Star Moon. I don't know.
Send me to Mars. I'll do a Mars Starbase update. It'll be Starbase update live Mars. Let's go. There's a 20-minute delay, but it'll be fine. Thank you guys so much for your Red Team memberships and your super chats. Shark Tales asks, who is the best new guy? I don't want to go down the road because we're all the best new guy at one point. And we have a lot of great folks that you can't see that are working hard in the field. And they really make it happen, right, guys? I mean, if you had to say, you can see Adrian nodding and Alex is they do the work.
I had the opportunity once to be with the NSF team in the field for Starship, and I can tell you we have the easy job here. We basically, once every single camera is set, every single thing is prepared, we get to sit down and then we talk about it. But before that, a team of people has to set up all of that, which is exactly what is happening over the week. Like, this is something you like when we start countdown to launch, that also means there's an eternal countdown to launch starting. There's people traveling to Boca. There's people preparing their cameras, deploying things. There's so much things going on over the next 7 days that then basically come all together on that single launch stream, which then hopefully you all enjoy.
So for those of you that joined during that Starlink launch, we did talk about the ship. We talked about Booster 13, the OLM, and a couple other things. You can replay that. But we did also talk about some of the regulatory things that were going on and the NOTAMs, the notice to air missions, and the notice to mariners, and of course TFR, temporary flight restrictions. And how do you guys feel? And Adrian, I'll start with you. How do you feel about Monday, November 18th launch? We look good right now, right?
Starship has the tendency to, it's weird to say that, don't scrub a lot. Like, Starship is very reliable to just launch.
You just jinx it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, everybody.
I'm not superstitious. I don't think you jinx anything. It's Monday.
Into the window.
Monday.
Yeah.
I feel good, honestly. Like, based on previous timelines, based on what they have ahead, I don't think they even I don't even think the timing is tight right now. I don't think there's even they're crunching the numbers. Will we make Monday? No. I think they will have a vehicle ready in time, and I think they will launch on Monday on the first attempt. Oh man, they don't clip this. This is like the worst jinx in history.
One thing that we have seen, at least in the previous. So, apart from the first flight, we have not had any scrubs on launch day. We have had, though, multiple, shifts into the window on every single launch attempt after that. On flight 2, we did have a hold, but if I'm not mistaken, flight 3, 4, and 5 have not had any holds into the countdown. They have this optional T-minus 40-second hold, right? And sometimes they do caution, we're looking at this, we're looking at that. I believe on flight 4, it was the winds that they were looking at, for a potential hold up for the launch, and they cleared that up. They also have boats most of the time as well, being sort of, the Gulf of Mexico is very big. There's a lot of boats in the area, and so they need to clear this out before the launch. And so that takes some time. I will not be surprised if that happens, where, they slip a little bit into the window. That window is 30 minutes on Monday. So about 1 hour, 1 week from now, this time we should be 12 minutes away from the start of the window, but that window extends for 30 minutes, so they could, in theory, move 20 minutes, 25 minutes, up to 30 minutes, of course, into that window. And I will not be surprised if that were to happen next week, because it seems like that's been a constant for the last few flights, but there's a good chance that it still goes within that window on the first try, right? So we'll see. Hopefully no holds or anything like that, because that's, I frankly hate holds with Starship, because they occurred 40 seconds before, right? And by the time you realize that they have picked up the count, because it takes a while for SpaceX to communicate that, and etc. It takes a while to react, and by the time you've already realized they have picked the count, you see already the detonation suppression system active and everything. It's like, oh my god, it's already going. You don't have any preparation to get your head in the mood of, oh, it's launching.
Yeah.
So when they just go through and they don't have any holds, that's good, because you're already with the mood of, okay, it's launching. But when they hold, you're like, oof, they're not launching, and then they pick up the count. And you know what I mean, right?
It happens. That's part of watching a rocket launch. That's part of it. I want to say thank you to so many people that are supporting us right now. MG says $5 super chat. I would like to buy the new guy a beer or drink of choice. New Guy fan club. So thank you so much for that. I am definitely part of this community, as are you. And of course, we've got some folks joining NSF. Lots and lots of Red Team members. We've got some new launch director, some new flight engineers, some new Capcom members. I want to thank all of you guys. Just, again, you are why we do what we do. You make this available. So we are working up some replays. There's Hill Street Blues. Thank you so much for that super chat. $10. Don't forget, guys, be sure to get out there and get your merch. We are coming up to the deadline for ordering before Christmas. If you want the sweaters, the blankets, the beanies, I'm not going to say the other word yet, because it will be out later. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of great stuff on the merch store, and a lot of people working hard behind the scenes to get it out to you in time.
That other thing is coming, everybody.
The other thing is coming.
I see you. I see people requesting this certain thing they want for Flight 6. I see you. We are working on it, and it will be there once SpaceX goes for a full stack. That's what I'm saying. Patience.
Is this a replay? Yeah, it's a replay. Look at that. You can
the
see.
Stinky Pickle, thank you so much for that. I had to say Stinky Pickle. Capcom member, thank you so much. It's not my usernames, it's their usernames. And guys, we are ready for these replays.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
you can
do
see
it.
this.
on the right side.
It's right there. Yeah.
That little
I love
light.
this shot. I love this shot
Falcon
from the
9.
restaurant. I just absolutely love this shot.
And you
I
can
love how
see,
it's like it looks
fantastic.
tiny.
It does. It does.
and you can see the other booster there from 2 launches ago, from the Cape at the very least, already there. The booster from the previous flight is probably still at the landing zone. But yeah,
Bird.
There it goes.
Everybody saw it.
Yep.
this one from the bots at the press sign, you can see there.
I want to
Clearing
ride
out
it.
the-
Does
the
anybody else
trees.
want to ride it? I want to go to space so bad.
To establish this again, Alex and
Yeah.
me. Nope.
Sign me up. I've done a whole lot of stuff in my life. Just add that to my bucket list.
You can get our 2 tickets.
Yeah, like Alex and I.
You get to fly
gladly
twice.
surrendered.
Send Gene to space.
There it
Hashtag
goes.
send Gene to space.
I love how it just emits from like the forest there. It's like nothing, rocket.
Is this auto track?
I think this is auto track.
Yeah, I recognize these colors. Look at that!
Moon.
Moon, what a shot. Wow. That was special.
Amazing. A bit more to the left, it would actually be a moon. Like a clear.
Here we go.
Sound.
There it goes.
Look at that.
We'll be here. The sound should hit. Ah, there it is.
Here comes the rumble.
That crackle.
It was D's shot. What a great shot, D. Well done.
I think this might be Max then with the moon track.
Ooh.
If I'm not mistaken. Could be, right? He picks it up.
Yep.
There we go, starting to track.
Oh yeah, look at it. He's got it off center. It's definitely. Come on.
Oh
Moon.
yeah.
Come on, Moon.
Max, you can see Max lining it up.
Yeah. He's like, any second now. Any second now.
Going up, going up.
And
Ooh, audio as well.
there you go.
There we
Oh,
go.
beautiful. That's going on the wall. And right back to center. Look at that. What a professional. That's amazing.
Wonderful.
Guys, I can't say
we have
enough.
some.
I just.
There's slow-mos coming.
Oh yeah. Oh, we have the slow-mos.
Yeah. After this.
A little bit later.
All right. So I've got to do lots and lots of. Thank you guys so much for the support. It's like popping up so fast. All right. Great job. Thank you so much, Mister, for that super chat. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm learning from these guys. These guys are the professionals. They're going to teach us a lot. Teach us. I have a mouse in my pocket, guys. Here's back to Starbase. I've got to do this to you, Adrian. I have to. I've got Daniel wants to know.
Full stack. Full stack.
Full stack. Full stack.
Once on this pad, there's 2 rocket parts.
Ooh.
Then it will release. I can tell you, it's done. It's finished.
Why?
Oh.
Why are you? That's
Why
Kevin.
are you booing?
This is Kevin.
Yeah, that was Kevin.
I know who this is. It's coming. We're getting there. It's amazing. You will see it. You will love it. Patch 6 is coming.
I have another a follow up.
Yep.
For Adrian. Are we working already on flight 7?
There's we are in the idea, like we have some drafts, ideas, like
Brainstorming and everything, no?
Yeah, like there's not like a concept art yet, but yes, we are already working on some details for Patch 7.
One of the favorite questions we get is, when do you think fill in the blank happens, right? So Gunfox61, thank you for that super chat, says, what IFT do you think the first ship catch will happen, and what integrated flight test do you think we will see the first dual launch? Now, of course, we all bring out our crystal balls and start reading, like, the future. Go ahead, Alex. Adrian first. You said,
Yeah, quick answers here, because we're in end, but Starship catch flight 12. First dual launch 25 and 26.
I will say ship catch also, between flight 10 and 12, maybe. And dual launch few years from now, maybe 3-4 years down the line.
Yeah.
So far,
yeah,
doesn't seem like they have any intentions to do that yet.
What a way to do the first countdown to launch. First, I want to thank D and Max for being out there for the Starlink 6-69 launch. What an amazing job you guys did. Some of those shots with the moon are just fantastic. So be sure to like and thank those guys. I want to thank Carson for operating the stream. Thank you so much, working in the background, making it possible for us to do what we do. Jay, of course, assisting as always in the background. And the one and only...
With like everything.
Yeah, literally. 24 hours a day. The one and only KMR for producing this one. And I want to promote, again, Countdown to Launch, tomorrow, the next day, all the way to Monday. And stay right here, Starbase, on Starbase Live. I just said Jay, so now it's Jack. Jack will be doing a rollout tonight, so stay right here on NSF. Adrian, Alex, thank you guys so much for my first time. This was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun.
I also had a lot of fun. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. I see a lot of people telling us that they enjoyed this. And yeah, Countdown to Launch returns tomorrow.
Yep.
And we are not done with NASASpaceflight. We are actually inside baseball here. We're just jumping on some quick meetings, and after that, we're back for rollouts.
Yeah. There's no shortage of work here at NSF. We have a lot of things to prepare, just literally within 168 hours, which if you divide that by 24, that's exactly 7 days from now, a week from now. So there we go. Just 1 week from that launch window to be opened.
Guys, thank you guys so much for joining us on this Countdown to Launch / Starlink mission. And if you're like me, you're going to be there tomorrow for Countdown to Launch and every day and going into IFT6. And as we go out here, I just want to say thank you to all the great support for NSF. Roll that beautiful slow-mo.
Any moment.
And here we go.
We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RS-68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. With planet.
Water towers, fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside SPD off. Say again, SPD off.
It's orange! 145! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Look at this!
Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.